The e-resource of this episode is Consumer Reports. That's right. The library gives you full access to the consumerreports.org website, including product ratings, recommendations, and buying guides. You'll find Consumer Reports at jocolibrary.org/research/consumer-reports.
A Winter Podcast Recording by Charles Hauer.
'Twas the morn before the podcast, and at the library the coffee was brewing, and the workers were merry. The whole tubs were set by the dock with great care, in hopes the couriers soon would be there. The new Patterson thrillers all nestled inside, for delivery to patrons after just a short ride. And Dave with his MacBook and mics and soundboard was just setting up for another record, when out in the stacks there arose such a clatter, he sprang from his chair to see what was the matter. Away towards the sound he started to scurry, threw open the door and rushed out in a hurry. The morning sun glinting off shiny book jackets made him pause for a moment in search for the racket, when what to his wondering eyes did appear but his co-host named Charles, who was holding a deer on a leash with two horns tied to it. He knew in a moment that it must be some bit. As fast as a cheetah they were running around, smashing into displays and knocking them down. As they trampled the library, Charles gave out a yelp.
"Quick, Dave, he's gone wild. Run fast and get help."
Charles pulled on the leash, but 'twas to no avail, and the deer darted past with a flick of its tail. It bucked and it pushed over the shelves left and right, but in its brown eyes Dave picked up on its fright. Ooh. Thinking quick, he retrieved a big cube of pure salt, which caught the beast's eyes, and he brought it to a halt. The doe now becalmed, Dave turned about and said to his co-host,
"What the heck was that all about?"
Charles bowed his head with a mischievous grin as he rubbed his hand over the side of his chin. The mirth in his eyes was abundantly clear as he stated,
"I figured I'd make a reindeer. This episode's theme is the wonders of winter, so I wanted to see your eyes when I entered. But the deer soon got loose and it made a big mess. By the way, is that something you can help me address?"
So the pair let the deer out the door towards the park, took a look at the scene, and the prospects looked dark. But with teamwork to rival a whole team of elves, the podcasting partners soon righted the shelves. They returned every book to its own proper place as they bantered and laughed, each a smile on his face.
"Your plan was so wild,"
laughed Dave, smiling wide.
"You know we don't let any animals inside."
"I should have known better,"
said Charles.
"It's true. It's a wonder to me just to spend time with you."
They glanced at the clock and the moment had passed. Dave said,
"It's game time. Let's get this done fast."
Jumping into their tasks, each one doing his best, they set up the mics and welcomed their guests. Dave clicked record and Charles started at last.
Welcome all to the Joco Library Uncovered Podcast.
Joco Library Uncovered.
Welcome back to the Joco Library Uncovered podcast. I'm Charles, returning again in the host chair for this episode on Winter Wonders. I'm excited that we're going to share some great picks with you from our collection here at the Johnson County Library, and they're all related to my favorite time of year, winter. But before I get too far, let's go ahead and introduce our stars of the show, our special guests.
Hi, my name is Kelsey Raper. I am a clerk at the Monticello branch. I've been with Johnson County for 5 years, and I'm super excited to record this podcast. You know, when we decided to go with the theme of Winter Wonder, what comes to mind for me is that, like, anything could happen. Mm-hmm. You know, you could get an amazing gift. Someone could show up you haven't seen in a long time. Maybe you'll find a fun light display. Maybe you'll get a snow day from school. And that anything can happen is kind of what I went and rolled with my picks.
Cool. And our other guest today, Kara, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Kara Duncan. I am a program support clerk here at Johnson County Library and have been here for 2 years now. Winter is a wonderful time of year, but I'm always a little bit sad about fall closing out. So I try to bring a variety of books that just make me smile in the winter season. So they're very atmospheric.
Perfect. Yeah, it sounds like a couple different approaches there, but also some good guidance for our book picks today. Why don't we just jump right in? It looks like, Carrie, you've got a big stack of books there. What would you like to start us off with today?
Well, I'm going to start with, again, leaning into the atmospheric theme, a novel called Migrations by Charlotte McConaghy. And Migrations has kind of this light blue cover with ice all across it. It's set in Greenland, and I read it in January a couple of years ago, and it's one of the first books that I have ever read that I listened to on audiobook and then immediately went and read the hard copy again as a reread immediately after finishing. So we meet Franny Stone, who is on a quest to find the world's last flock of Arctic terns and track their final migration. And it is a beautiful and occasionally dark read.
Okay. So there's sounds like some nature elements in there that people might be interested in.
Absolutely.
Migrations and Greenland, probably a nice cold setting there.
Absolutely. It kind of makes you shiver a little bit as you read it.
Okay, cool. Do we want to move on to the next pick there? It looks like maybe you got another one that also has kind of an icy cover.
Yeah, a little bit going again with the icy theme. The title of this book is The Frozen River by Ariel Lawhon. And this is about a real life woman from American history, Martha Ballard, and set in Maine in 1789. She was a midwife, and she is notable in American history because she kept a very detailed diary and journal of her experiences as a midwife. And this novel is actually a murder mystery, kind of based on some real incidents that happened in her journal and fleshing those out.
Okay. That sounds cool. Another cool ice. Yes, that sounds like a neat premise there. Somebody kind of like historical fiction. That's always a popular genre. Kelsey, why don't we jump over to you? What would your first pick be that you brought?
All right. The first thing I brought today is Pride and Prejudice and Mistletoe by Melissa De La Cruz. I was really excited to try this because Melissa De La Cruz does a lot of like retellings and like movie novelizations. And so I figured that it was going to be a pretty good story. So it was exactly what I hoped it was going to be. It's a modern day, like winter Christmas time retelling of Pride and Prejudice, except it's gender swapped. So she's the rich and snooty one and he is but a lowly carpenter, and of course magical things happen at Christmas time when you come back to your hometown that you've been avoiding since you left for college. So I just thought it was super fun. It was an easy read. Read it over like 1 or 2 snowy days, I feel like. And yeah, I just thought it was a super fun read.
Yeah, it kind of it digs into that trend. It looks like of like retelling those classic novels. I've heard Pride and Prejudice and Zombies and all the others. Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
Right.
So kind of in that style with a story love, but a little bit of a winter twist to it sounds like. Right.
And those can sometimes get kind of cheesy. And this, I feel like, just like rode the line of like just not cheesy enough to be fun.
Cool. Very good. Okay. Well, how about who would like to go next? Or I can share one. I brought a couple actually as well. So I will jump in and I will say that to me, wintertime often involves baking. And the favorite baking that we do around our house is cookies in the wintertime. So Martha Stewart's Cookies, the very best treats to bake and share. It's kind of an old book at this point, but we have been using the recipes from that for over a decade now, just every winter pulling out a new recipe to try, and they're always a hit with everybody. So that would be my recommendation, is checking out Martha Stewart's Cookies.
I love that. That's so much fun.
That sounds delicious.
Mhm.
That's the best kind of book. One can be described as delicious.
Yeah, Kara, do you have another one you'd like to share?
Yeah, kind of going back to the theme of classics in the winter time, I brought the book So Many Beginnings, A Little Women Remakes by Bethany C. Morrow. And kind of a heads up, if you enjoy the book groups at the Johnson County Library, we will be doing Little Women paired with So Many Beginnings as a book to read in January and February for the Cedar Row, Lenexa, and online book groups.
Nice.
So keep an eye out for that.
Very good. And is it pretty much just a good, straightforward retelling of the story, or what's the twist that they kind of put on there?
It is a series called the Remixed Classics.
Okay.
And this particular one is taking a look at the Civil War instead of from the very specific white Northeastern March family perspective. This book is set in the Freed People's Colony of Roanoke Island, which was a historical haven for recently emancipated slaves. And so this takes place in 1863. And what would happen if the March family was from that Freed People's Colony?
Oh, okay.
That
Cool.
sounds
So
awesome.
Just kind of a different shift in perspective there, give you a broader sense of the time period. That's very cool. All right. I see a kid's book on the table here.
Yeah, so I brought A Mustache Baby Christmas by Bridget Hios.
Very cute.
And the reason I brought it and the reason I thought it spoke to Winter Wonder is because it's one that since we found it in 2019 have read every single year at Christmas time. I have twin girls and they're 7 now and they love it. And it's just such a funny story. Shout out to Bridget Hios. She is local and she has a ton of children's books to her name, so you should check her out. It's a Christmas themed picture book about baby Billy, aka Mustache Baby, and baby Javier, his bearded sidekick. And in this story, Javier is Santa, of course, because he's the bearded one, and baby Billy is his assistant elf. But of course, things go awry, and they end up having to fight to save Christmas. It is joyful. It is hilarious. If you enjoy lines like stashing through the snow, which I totally do, you will love it. It's so funny. 10/10.
That sounds great.
That is delightful. Thank you for bringing that. My baby needs that book in his life this Christmas.
Absolutely.
I have a children's book as well. It's a little bit for an older age group. It's Wish Tree, and it's a middle grade book by Catherine Applegate. I do not have a child in the age range this book is designed for, but I think every adult should read a good middle grade now and then. And Wish Tree is a book that I want to put in the hands of every single human I know. It is one of those rare books that I feel really can be given to anyone. It is written from the perspective of Red, an oak tree, who gets to see so many things happening in the neighborhood. One line is, trees can't tell jokes, but they can certainly tell stories. And it is just an absolutely beautiful, heartwarming story about belonging and community.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds great. I think I might jump in. Speaking of community, one of the things that I like to do around the winter time is get together with my family or with friends and play board games. And one of the things that people may not know that we have here at the library is video games, including Catan console edition for the PS5 and the Switch. So you can actually play board games on your video game console and check that out through the library. So get together with people, share a controller, pass it around the room. And if you don't have the board game, then you can check it out at the library and play it on one of those platforms.
It's awesome.
Yeah, why don't we jump over? Kelsey, do you want to go with your next pick?
Sure. When Kara said that she wanted to get, Wish Tree into the hands of anybody that she could, I felt like that's how I feel with Small Things Like These by Claire Keegan. It's a very short story, could read it in like a couple hours, historical fiction set in 1985 in Ireland. So lots of, political change and unrest going on at that time. And it follows Bill Furlong and his family. He's a merchant quietly and properly living his life until one day he's confronted with a sight at the church that, it causes him to have to face like his past and consider his future actions as well. Claire Keegan writes really, really beautifully, and if you like this, she has a lot of other short stories that we also have in the collection. I thought it spoke to Winter Wonder because it deals with big changes, both within like somebody's personal life and reflection, and, within a country. So a time that anything could be happening in the future.
Very cool.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. Okay, Kara, what is your next one there? It looks like a colorful cover there.
It is. It's a bright purple cover here. And it is called Welcome to the Huenum Dong Bookshop. It is a book in translation from Korean by Hwang Bo-rum. I just looked that up, how to pronounce Hwang's name correctly, so I hope I did and made that correct. But it is a cozy, quiet novel. I picked that up next because as Kelsey was talking about small things like these, I feel like this is a good pairing. It's a book about community and this woman who opens a bookstore in Seoul, which is a huge city, but the book feels very contained into this very small community feel. And it is just a cozy, quiet, delightful read.
Very nice.
Awesome.
Yeah. I like those cozy themes. Those are always a popular one to recommend to people, so I'll have to keep that one in my back pocket.
For sure.
So I think we're probably getting pretty close on our recording time here. How about we go around and everybody share one last pick, if that sounds good?
Works for me.
So I can kick us off here. So my last pick would be at around the winter time. I also like to listen to a lot of music, and it's something that I enjoy in my personal life, and making music and listening to music. So we have access as library patrons to the Naxos Music Library that you can get through our e-library section on the website. And on Naxos Music Library, you can find the Harmony Ensemble of New York and Stephen Richman performing Tchaikovsky's Nutcracker Suite, both in the original version and in the Duke Ellington arranged by Billy Strayhorn for jazz ensemble. So it's like a double album there where they start with the classical version and then they move to the jazz version. So that would be my recommendation, is checking that one out. Very wintry themes that people know and love, and then the jazz version, if you haven't heard that, is well worth checking out as well. Kelsey, why don't we move over to you?
Yeah. I'm going to pivot from cozy and nice. I have my last pick is An Unwanted Guest by Sherry LaPena. I tied this to Winter Wonders because I think that there is a read or a listen out there for everyone. Like, not everything. A lot of people love the cozy and love the sweet, and I totally understand, because that's how a lot of times this time of year makes you feel. But this is not that. And if you're not a cozy person, then this might be for you. It's a locked room mystery, so to speak. They're all up at the same, picturesque chateau in the winter. There's a blizzard, the power goes out, and when the power comes back on, one of them is dead. And, of course, it continues this way. And, I don't know, Sherry LaPena writes a lot of thriller-style books. It's a fun, easy read with twists and turns. It is formulaic to like this kind of story. So if that's not for you, it might not be your type of read. But if you like that kind of thing, it'll be right up your alley.
Yeah, I think sometimes with those locked room mysteries, the formula is part of the draw.
Exactly.
People want that. So that sounds like a good pick.
Yeah.
And Kara, what about your last pick there?
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Kelsey. I've been wondering where to start with her as an author, and that sounds like so much fun.
That was the first thing of hers that I read.
Oh, wow. So my last pick is another pivot again. I'm kind of back to nonfiction. A lot of people this time of year are experiencing kind of that seasonal affective disorder as the days get shorter, and are also kind of looking for some nonfiction or some books to start off your new year, that kind of thing. One of my favorites is called Joyful: The Surprising Power of Ordinary Things to Create Extraordinary Happiness by Ingrid Fettel-Lee. And this book is surprisingly delightful and practical. She talks about all the different things that can make life joyful from a science-based perspective, but talks about things like confetti and what kind of light bulbs to buy to make your mood better. And it's just a very practical and fun look at bringing more joy into your life.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, that sounds like a great pick. Well, unfortunately, I do think we are wrapping up our recording for today, but I want to let our listeners know that if you missed any of those recommendations or want to find them through our catalog, you can find a list of all of those in our show notes or on our website at jocolibrary.org/uncovered. Kelsey and Kara, I want to thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, it was awesome. Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Charles. It was so much fun.
To tremble from cold in the icy snow, in the harsh breath of a horrid wind, to run stamping one's feet every moment, our teeth chattering in the extreme cold. Before the fire to pass peaceful, contented days while the rain outside pours down. We tread the icy path slowly and cautiously for fear of tripping and falling, then turn abruptly, slip, crash on the ground, and rising, hasten across the ice, lest it cracks up. We feel the chill north winds course through the home, despite the locked and bolted doors. This is winter, which nonetheless brings its own delights. That's the introduction to Concerto No. 4 in F minor, titled Winter by Antonio Vivaldi. So at the start of this episode, I pointed out that winter is my favorite season. I find it to be a time of delightful contrast with cold weather and hot chocolate, less daylight, but all those twinkling lights at nighttime, time for introspection, and time to gather with those you love. There's so many reasons that I love wintertime, but I figured rather than listen to me go on, I would turn it over to some of my colleagues here at the library to find out what their winter wonders are. So we're going to close today with their voices. I want to thank you so much for listening to the Joco Library Uncovered podcast this year. Have a great winter season, and we'll see you again in a few months with recommendations for the spring.
I really like all the holiday cereals and Little Debbie's Christmas tree cakes.
Winter is a great opportunity for me to justify buying all of those throw blankets, cozy things, and warm fluffies that look so tempting in the store.
My winter wonder is making eggnog and finally being able to have it and enjoying it.
Hi. Something I find wonderful about winter is when my 2 cats snuggle up to all the floor vents and then you go pet them and they're really roasty toasty. Even though it makes the room colder, it's still very cute to witness.
One of my winter wonders would probably be going on walks in the wintertime, nice cold walks where it's quiet, there's not all the buzz of insects that you get in the summer. I like a chilly breeze and a nice, calm, peaceful winter morning.
Oh, there's many things I love about winter, but one of them is the first snowfall. I just always find that so peaceful, and I love the days where I can just sit out in home and enjoy it, cozied up with a book, of course. And then I also love the holiday season. Wrapping presents is one of my very favorite things, and so while most people don't enjoy it, I do, and so I always look forward to that time of year as well.
I have a really good memory of a Christmas past. Actually, I think it was a really snowy Thanksgiving when my uncle brought his ATV, his four-wheeler, to Thanksgiving at my grandma's house, and he hooked up a sled behind it. He had more than one four-wheeler, and me and all my cousins went around on these sleds attached to the back of the four-wheelers in the snow, and it was incredible. It was so much fun. That's like one of my favorite winter memories ever.
Joco Library Uncovered. Joco Library Uncovered is a production of Johnson County Library and is recorded at the Central Resource Library in Overland Park, Kansas. We would love to read your thoughtful emails at uncovered@jocolibrary.org.